Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Sex with Robin on Split Radio. Um, this is where we talk about sex, kink, dating, non monogamy, any and all of that good shit. I am located in Vancouver, Canada, on the traditional, ancestral, and very importantly, unceded territories of the Coast Salish and Musqueam Indigenous tribes. My name is Robin Beach. I use she, her pronouns. I am a former stripper, former pro dom, former nurse, mostly with experience in cardiology, psychology, and sexual health. Now I'm a sex educator, coach, consultant. Um, I and also host of this show, Sex with Robin, on Split Radio. Mandy and I put together Split Radio, standing for Sex Positive Lifestyle Inclusive Talk Radio, because we wanted to create a platform for that was really accessible. That's mostly what our goal for this platform was, is just to be as accessible as possible and letting people that are creators, that are sex positive, body positive, and ready to talk about stuff to come on and put their, be a creator and have a platform and have it be an accessible platform for the creator and also for those that are watching. So today on Sex with Robin, we're talking about discipline. And I'll just elaborate real quick. With the start of the new year, the new platform, all kinds of really exciting new fun stuff that's happening with this platform and with Mandy and others. I kind of wanted to start off the new year and the new platform breaking down the acronym of BDSM, which feels a bit like a complicated acronym sometimes because it's not just one letter per thing. It's like split into like the pairs of letters. And I can't do enough hand motions in order to express this because it's BD, DS, and SM that together become BDSM. So in the first BD acronym, that is bondage, which we talked about last week, and discipline, which we're talking about today. And then the next acronym for the DS is dominance and submission. And the one after that is sadomasochism. So we will be talking dominance and submission next week on Sex with Robin Split Radio. But for today, it is about discipline. And that's kind of a fun one, in that it can mean a lot of different things. It can also be kind of confusing, or I don't say confusing to muggles, because muggles are smart, obviously, but it's something that they might not be familiar with, or really maybe deep down be like, what? Discipline? Why would you want that? Um, so there's lots of different kinds of like discipline that I'm gonna try my best to break down. By the way, oh yeah, we got the chat going. Oh yes, Peter, you are absolutely correct. SM can also be for slave, master, mistress. Absolutely. Um, Thank you for sharing that. So with discipline, and this is just it, that could mean something like something protocol based. So I'm going to have to go into protocol a little bit. And it's like, Peter, I know you know about protocol, so have some patience with me. I want to make this like, try to make it muggle friendly. We can go into the deep stuff, but I got to explain. Got to explain and help me out as you always do because you're awesome. I feel like you should be doing the one on this topic. Yeah, because I'm not a super protocol heavy person typically. I enjoy protocol though. For me, protocol isn't. I'm not as into 24/7 DS or protocol. I enjoy having a scene, which is when you are doing the engaging in your kinky play, as we often call playing or a scene. And 24/7 would be outside of the scene, like all the time. I mean, 24/7, that you have that relationship with somebody. And protocol could be whatever you make it. It might be, I always need a good night text from you every night, or you're not allowed to do XYZ without permission. You have to text or call or something like that. It's just the agreed upon rules and dynamic for that kinky relationship. So discipline could just be like making sure that the bottom or the S submissive type in this situation is following those protocols and keeping that going. That I think in itself would be a definition of discipline. There's also, I mentioned in some of my posts, punishments, and I mentioned punishments. Those are not the same. And I think I love that word punishment. Just it's a cute little play on words, which is more like, oh no, please don't spank me. I've been so naughty. And it's okay to have that. It's okay for it to be like kind of more for play, a little more lighthearted. Yeah, for anyone that's seen me play, I mean, I can play with protocol, but I also can play and be very, very silly. And I am all for silliness in the bedroom or in your kink world. If that's what you want to do, it doesn't have to be super serious all the time. So that's kind of my position on that. It can be either or. It's whatever floats your boat. That's why we're here. Honestly, that's why I'm here. I'm here to say, hey, as long as what's going on is consensual, like agreed upon, and you're a consenting adult, go for it. Go for it. Um, just be aware of the risks. Be knowledgeable on the shit that you're doing. Make sure you have consent, and you have my support. Um, so punishments versus punishments. I think this is often where muggles might be a little bit thrown off. Because I feel like most muggles, I'm trying not to speak for muggles. If you're like kind of, a muggle or muggle-ish, feel free to comment. I have some very close friends since high school that are happy to be proud of being muggles, and that's often where I get like my muggle questions or points of view from them. So I will say, at least for my muggle friends, there has been a lot of confusion and difficulty really grasping punishment versus punishment. They're like, I can totally see punishment. I can see it being lighthearted and cheeky and, oh no, don't punish me, when clearly like you're actually wanting that punishment. You're seeking the spanking or the pain or the whatever, what have you, the humiliation. And then there is the like actual punishments that they can be smaller punishments or heavier punishments. Again, it depends on the relationship. And that is, a punishment is not supposed to be fun or enjoyable. It is supposed to be an actual punishment within the BDSM dynamic. It's one of those things where like, no, you don't want to do it, but you are agreeing to do it. Even just asking like during a scene to be like, is this okay? Do you like this? Would be often very confusing to a bottom, because they're like, no, I hate this. Stop. But like, don't stop. Right? Good afternoon. Hello. Oh, I am in Vancouver. It is Pacific time. It is 10 a.m. here. It is not afternoon for me, but I will say good afternoon to you too. If it is afternoon where you are, good afternoon. If it is morning where you are, good morning. If it's night where you are, good night. Don't go to sleep yet. Okay. Um, it's wonderful. Yes, thank you so much for joining. So, yeah, it can be a little bit complicated to explain a bottom or an S type, submissive type in the dynamic, to say, no, I actually really hated that. I didn't want to do it, but I wanted to not want to do it. Like I wanted them to do it, even though I didn't want to do it. How do you explain that in words? It is very, so yeah. Are you enjoying this? Is often going to be a very confusing question. So I actually, and I gotta mention her again because she's given me so much information and shared a lot of her knowledge and experience over the years. River Dark. If you ever see her speak anywhere, go go. She's amazing. Um, she this is a phrase I got from her. Are you feeling charged? And she often uses the word charged instead of like, are you enjoying this or do you like this? Because that's, I think, a really good way for some people to describe that they are quote unquote like enjoying it. They're feeling charged by it, or it is somehow satisfying to them. There's a lot of really complicated reasons that people want to be punished or want to be made to do something they don't want to do. But that's not what today is about. We could go far down the rabbit hole maybe another time if you have any ideas or thoughts. Oh, here we go. We've got punishment. A comment here. Punishment is not a behavior modification used in my dynamic. Hey, how do you use punishment in your dynamic? If you don't mind elaborating, I'd love to know. I know I've used it as some form of behavior modification, at least as a top. I've personally always been it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't ever expect perfection because I think that's unreasonable. What I want to see is effort. If you did a really shitty job, but I can tell you really, really tried your hardest, that will likely be rewarded. But if you didn't really try, that's where I would have an issue in terms of that kind of dynamic. I want to see effort. I want to see heart and purpose. Like, yes, I want to be here. I want to do this thing, and I'm going to try really hard. But yeah, punishments happen. And also as a pro dom, that was actually a very, very common request in terms of a role play scene where a client would want to be punished for something. And sometimes it was leaning more punishment. Sometimes some of my clients really wanted like actual punishment for a role play scene. Common ones like, oh, a client would want to do a scene where he was caught stealing my panties and I would have to punish him for that. That kind of thing. Really, really common fantasy. And so in terms of the role play, yeah, I love getting into like a good role. That can be a lot of fun. So what does that punishment look like? Because if we're looking at like actual behavior modification, like training someone, a punishment should be very, very short, not super, super lengthy. You don't want the bottom to go into subspace, which is kind of a euphoric high, which is what happens if you often prolong things or if they're particularly relaxed or find a flow. That's how you get like really spacey and euphoric due to the all the endorphins and chemicals, which we've talked about on our previous show. So I can give another example. I was in a relationship where I had to make the bed. Simple thing, that was a protocol that we had agreed on. I hate making the bed. I really, truly loathe making the bed, and I feel like this is controversial opinion. I respect you. You like making the bed. I don't like making the bed. When I get to a hotel, one of the first things I do is I untuck all the sheets. Like I don't like a really tightly made bed. Sorry. I like my sheets and blankets out. I like to be able to stick my feet out of the sheets. So I don't like making my bed. I find it to be pointless because I'm just going to hop in and mess up the blankets later anyways. So anyways, I had a partner who's like, I would really like to try to get you making the bed regularly. And I was like, oh, fuck. I'm totally down. I like loathing it, but excited. And so the deal was every morning I didn't make the bed. I was discovered to have not made the bed. I would be punished with 5 spanks to the ass. Just 5, that's it. But 5 like not fun spanks. So there's no warm up, there's no, getting all wooey and sexy. It is like, nope, come here. 5 hard spanks that I am not going to enjoy. And then any time after that I didn't make the bed, I would get an additional spank. So the second time I forgot to make the bed, I'd get 6 not fun spanks. Next time I didn't make the bed, 7 not fun spanks. And it didn't take me long to get into the habit of making the bed, to the point where I did it without even thinking about it. I was visiting my mom's place and made the bed right after getting up. My mom was like, "Did you just make the bed? You've never made the bed." And I was like, "Oh, my partner got me in the habit, I guess." And my mom was like, "Well, you tell them to keep it up." Of course, she had no idea what I meant. But that is, I think, a really good example of behavior modifying punishment and discipline. Let's see. We've got comments here. Master guides me, but does not punish me. And that's awesome. If that works for your relationship, that's really sweet. I like that. And I've got another comment here. When I top, I have punished during role play. Absolutely, because that's, again, what someone might be into. Assuming that everyone is knowledgeable and consenting of what's going on, go for it. In terms of like the more role play, I would maybe draw things out, because I might even be leaning a bit more on punishment on that one. If it's very like fantasy-esque, you can absolutely draw it out. I like to I really enjoy connection with whoever I'm playing with. So I would like to kind of, with clients, even just kind of stop what I'm doing and really check in, get in their face. And again, depending on this scenario, this fantasy, am I supposed to be like angry at this person? Am I supposed to be disgusted that they would steal my panties? And how disgusting are you? Like, obviously no shame. I'm giving you an example of one of the fantasies, right? Some people might want to be humiliated for that. Some people just really want pain. So that's a lot of it, is kind of what it comes down to, is your relationship dynamic. Is this a heavy DS relationship? Is this behavior modifying punishments and discipline? Or is this a fantasy that you're living out? So you can stretch that out, really getting in their face, checking in, teasing them, taunting them. Or if you want to be more of a strict kind of disciplinarian, that's another really common fantasy. An authoritative figure like a teacher, or sorry, this is also a controversial one, but it's there, it's common. A kind of like nun teacher, like I don't know. I'm give me the word I'm thinking of. But what's that like? There's got to be a word for, like, a nun that is a teacher at a kind of school. The strap, or a teacher. That's actually a really, really, really common fantasy, that they want to be strictly punished with a lot of protocol, with a strap and their arms out. And that is a really heavy one, because that is the reality. A lot of people have experienced that. Like, there are people that are still alive that got the strap in school as children. But a lot of things that are kind of messed up do become fantasies, and that's okay, again, as long as everyone involved is knowledgeable and consenting. So that's what I tell prodoms, that are like people that are wanting to become prodoms, or people that are new, and they're like, "What do I need?" And I'm like, "Get a strap." That's very common. Yeah, Catholic school teacher. Yes, thank you. That's kind of what I was thinking. I didn't know if there was like a title or a word for that, but yes, a Catholic school teacher. Thank you. And that's from Split Radio. I'm gonna guess that's Mandy. Thank you, Mandy. Oh, here we are with Peter, who I always has something great to say. The quote, punishment for crime structure paradoxically gives this a degree of control over the situation. Absolutely. I love that. I love the discussion of control. I mean, that's a lot of what kink is about, honestly. And I've had this talk many times with my therapist, because I'm like, I have serious personal issues with control. And doing a lot of the kink that I do allows me to express or explore control in a way that makes me feel safe, or lack thereof control in a way that makes me feel safe. Love that. I love that. I enjoy laughter when I bottom. As a bottom and a top. I do love laughter. It doesn't always have to be serious. It can be a total punishment where you're laughing and having a good time. Predicament play is a really fun thing. I enjoy a kind of predicament play that could get really, really giggly. We've got other comments here. I think what's important for subs is to know hard limits. Sometimes part of the dynamic is doing things they don't necessarily want to do or find enjoyable in order to please the Dom, but they obviously still need to feel safe to state their limits. Yes, absolutely. That is very well said. I think that talking ahead of time, the negotiation part of any dynamic or scene that you're going to be doing, that discussion needs to be as neutral as possible. Everyone needs to feel safe to say, hey, this is what's okay, this is what's not. And then not just in the beginning, but of course later, to be able to have check-ins in a way that is neutral as possible and to find a way to discuss. If you're not able to find a way to talk to your partner about something that is not okay or that is a hard limit, like that is not okay. You need to be able to tell your partner something is not okay or that you have certain limits. You need to be able to be safe to do that. Absolutely. So yeah, if there's a way you can find a way to do check-ins on fairly neutral ground of like, hey, let's discuss this relationship. I'd like to know what's really working, what's not working. Is there anything I can do? That kind of thing. Here we go. Another comment. Punishment is something we do in our dynamic. Master likes to call me a brat to incite me into pouting. I love that so much. I do love brats. I will say this. I love brats. I think that they get kind of a bad rap sometimes. I feel like people will be like, "Oh, I don't know brats." And I'm like, "What?" That's probably because I have a lot of brat in me, I think. I like to bottom, but I am not submissive. So I kind of like service tops where I could be like, this is what I want. I want you to beat the crap out of me. Let's go. Cause yeah, I'm not submissive. So whenever I have like really kind of bottomed, there's a few people I would bottom to. I can be a little bit cheeky. As a top, I love a challenge. I love a brat. And I feel like if you can make me laugh, you'll get away with it. I'm like that as a parent too. If you can make me laugh, you're probably off the hook. So thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Yeah, when you think discipline, what does that mean for you? Are you a Sam? What is a Sam? Oh, am I missing something? A sadist and a masochist? Yes. Is that what Sam means? A sadist and a masochist? I would say yes. I'm definitely a switch. I top more than I bottom, and I think that's because I am really particular about who tops me, but also because I'm not submissive. I am a masochist. I do enjoy pain. I get all kinds of pleasure from pain. Um, yeah, but I tend to top more. I am a masochist. I do enjoy inflicting pain. Oh, a smart ass masochist. Thank you for that. A smart ass masochist. I'm writing that down. I've not heard that term and I like it. A smart ass masochist. I am definitely one of those. How did I not know that? There's so much I don't know. Yeah, there we go with Peter, also smart ass masochist. Yeah, I I'm a smart ass human that is a sadist and a masochist. I'm a smart ass queer. I'm a smart ass woman. I'm a smart ass all of the things. Yes. Yes, that is true. Um, and it's fun. I've actually, I'm, trying to continue and stay on track with the topic of discipline. Sometimes it doesn't always go well. And I think this might be, I was trying not to be a smartass. I was basically being punished, and this was not supposed to be punishment. This was supposed to be Yeah, I was supposed to be actually being like punished in not a fun way. And I it was beeswax. We could talk about wax in another show, but I was getting beeswax poured on me, and it was not supposed to be fun, and I was being very, very quiet because I was trying not to be a smartass, and I didn't want my top knowing how much I was enjoying myself because I was loving it. And then I said, sorry for family that's listening. I said, sir, may I please come? Like, may I have an orgasm? Because I was getting off on the pain so much, and he was not expecting that. He was, he was like, no, no, you can't. And he had to try to find something else to do because I was not supposed to be having fun, and I was having a lot of fun. So, does anybody have any experience like that where, um, maybe you were like not supposed to be having fun, but you're like, this is awesome. And you're trying not to be a smartass about it. I was trying to be good. I was quiet, and then I asked for permission as I was supposed to do within our protocol, and I was denied. So, yeah, things happen. Oh, we got a good one. Here we go. Here's a comment right here. I am cheeky and sassy, so being playful suits me and lends to punishment. You know what? I absolutely love it. I feel like, especially with the kind of brattier or cheekier or smartass masochists that I've played with, there's a lot of wrestling. I love wrestling too, though, so it would get very fun and playful very quickly. Um, I feel like wrestling is a good, um, pretty good setup for a lot of cheekiness and fun and smacking and poking and laughing. And wrestling is one of my favorite things, and oh, I miss it so much. Wrestling is one of the things I have not really been able to do with COVID. I can't wait to wrestle again. What are you excited for to do? Wrestling is a big one for me. I miss wrestling. I do gotta take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsor. This episode is sponsored by, oh, look at all this. We've got, oh, hang on, Mandy's on here. We've got onecondoms.com. And this is Mandy's code. You should use it because you might as well get a deal. Many loves for 15% off your custom size condoms. If you go to myonecondoms.com, they have over 60 sizes, lengths, and girths. If you go to myonecondoms.com, you can just download for free a sizing kit, and you can get like literally the perfect size condom, which I promise makes such a big difference in your life if you have a proper fitting condom. And I can say that. I'm not a penis owner, but I have been with partners that were penis owners that had a condom that didn't fit properly, and then got one like a custom fit that fit properly, and he was like, it changed my life. The sex was way, way, way better. So there we are. Oh, we got some more in the chat going on. Club nights. Yeah, people want to go back to club nights. Yeah, that's a tough one. Oops, hang on. What am I doing? Clicking things. Got another comment here. I always try to be good, but things get too funny not to be playful. 1000% agree. I feel like sometimes the thought just comes and you're like, this situation is in front of me. I can't not state what's really, really funny right now. And I'm just like, yeah. And that's why, yeah, as a top, I'm like, if you can make me laugh, you're definitely off the hook unless you want to wrestle. Um, Another comment here. I'm looking forward to being a demo bottom for a fisting class at a conference. Yes, yes. I miss demos so much. And I actually, maybe this is a fun place to announce because I don't think it's a secret. I think I'm allowed to announce it. I am going to be presenting at Kink Fest in Portland, Oregon this year. Assuming it goes ahead. Like, that's at least the view I'm taking on this with COVID. That's the way I've been handling it, is like trying not to get my hopes up too much. So I'm like, assuming it goes ahead, I will be there. I will be in Portland, Oregon. I should get the dates for you for KinkFest 2022. That's in April 2022. I don't actually know what workshops I'm going to be doing. Oh, it's for April 15th to 17th in Portland, Oregon, called KinkFest, held by the Portland Leather Alliance. Yeah. I don't actually know what workshops I'm going to be doing yet. All I know is they want me to present, and they've confirmed, and then I confirmed that they confirmed. And so I've given them a few ideas. My squirting class is always really popular, so I did do that one. And we got a comment guest hoping it is safe to attend the conference. Yeah. That's just how I feel. I'm like, I really hope it goes, but there's a chance it might not. And this is not me saying anything that anyone from KinkFest has said. This is just what the state of the world is right now. I'm hoping it goes ahead. But assuming it does, I will be there. Also, yeah, with the borders. Because I am in Canada. And so hopefully I can cross the borders with no issues. So yeah, I can't wait to tell you which workshops I'm doing. I can't wait to find out what workshops I'm doing. Let me know if you have any requests or if you have a favorite workshop. Oh, I can't wait to go to a con, assuming it goes ahead. Assuming it goes ahead. How are we doing on time? I feel like I've just been rambling. Because we're like halfway through, and I feel like I've covered quite a bit in terms of discipline. So unless you have, a request, or tell me if you've seen a really good workshop discussing discipline. Because I find discipline there's just a large spectrum, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's discipline. It can be for behavior modification. It can be for fun, punishment. It could be a fantasy. It could be whatever it is that you are interested in doing in terms of discipline. So that could even mean, and I could give more pro-dom examples. I had a client that wanted the entire time to be on his knees, like kneeling and against a wall, like face up against the wall, just kneeling. And for me to be there or not be there. He's like, I want you to be able to leave the room and come back. I don't want to know if you're watching me or not. But if you catch me moving, I'm in big trouble. And so for like a good hour or two, and we often, we would do this like virtually. So I would see him on camera just in a corner. And I'd be like, you don't know if I'm watching, you don't know if I'm not. I would make him write lines or something like that if he moved, because it was a long distance thing. But that was it. And I would definitely call that a form of discipline, where he's literally kneeling on the floor for an hour or two, facing the wall, not allowed to move, not allowed to speak. That's discipline as it is, I would say, because it would require discipline to, make sure he's still standing there and for him to kneel there. But then there would be additional punishments as writing lines if he moved. That was everything. That was the entire scene that we would do. So things don't always have to be really complicated either. You can stick to pretty basic ideas. So sometimes I do find I try to overcomplicate things if I'm planning a scene or if I'm planning something. And every now and then I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you can just stick with the basics. They're kind of staples for a reason, or try not to overcomplicate things. Sometimes you just make it really basic. And it's effective. It's kinky, basic bitches. Nothing wrong with that. I do got to mention, with the Split Radio platform, Mandy and I have created, and we're wanting other folks, if they're interested, if they have some kind of content, whether it's just like a day or if you want something more regular to be streaming, go for it. It can be live, it can be pre-recorded. Just contact us and we can always figure something out because we want this to be accessible. We also started a new kind of segment on Thursdays called Thirsty Thursday, and then Rage Against the Screen. So starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I show you how to make a certain drink, a drink of the week, and this week's drink is Amaretto Sours. I've actually been trying to practice them because Brandon makes them really good, and he's trying to show me the difference because mine aren't as good as his. So maybe I'm trying to convince him to join me for Thursday to show us how to make the perfect Amaretto Sour. And then after that, we will be watching Sex Education Season 1, Episode 2. Basically, we stream and we have a watch party at the same time, and we discuss. So that's what we're doing on Thursday. And then with today's episode and with the previous episode just before this was The Many Loves Lunch Hour with Mandy Conant. And she does all things non-monogamy. And so, yeah, her episode will be airing again later today for those that aren't able to watch today. So this episode and the previous episode will be airing again this evening for those that maybe had to work. So Mandy's will be starting at, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. She talks about polysaturation. And then today's episode on discipline will be at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. My brain hurts doing this time zone stuff, I tell you. But we've got loved ones and chosen family all over time zones, so we got to try to be cool about that. Okay. Do you have a discipline experience, even if it was something that you kind of watched? Again, if you saw it, don't give any names or anything, but did you ever seen or done a kind of discipline that really made you go like, whoa? And I've definitely seen and done a few of those where I was like, okay, that's just the only word I can think of is just whoa, that really stuck with you. Um, I always really had, I should say initially, early on in my pro doming years, when I started doing the whole the strap. That one made me go whoa a little bit at first because because I know how real that situation is. And sometimes it was often like older men and that would say I did get strapped on the arms, like the forearms, in school, and they wanted to reenact that. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And of course made sure, discussing like, is this a traumatic thing? And it's like, no, I just find it hot. I'm like, okay. Because you got to be really careful with any kind of trauma or triggers, and that is something that needs to be discussed. But yeah, the strap, I don't know what it was. Again, it's one of those like, it's basic but effective and really intense, and just knowing that was something that person had experienced, I was kind of like, but then like we had a really really intense great scene that he later was like, that was amazing. And I was like, I thought so too. Like, it was really, really intense and satisfying in a lot of ways for both of us. Ooh, here's a comment. A cinder block attached to a man's junk and made to walk. Oh, a cinder block. Because I've seen things get dragged before. A cinder block is pretty dang impressive. See, and this is where the silliness comes with me. I've done like the bucket, and you fill up the bucket as they walk. But a cinder block, that's an intense. That's definitely a whoa. Thank you for sharing. That's pretty good. Excuse me, I'm trying not to cough. I feel like I'm not sick. I just needed a morning cough, get that out of there. But I'm like, trying not to cough. Okay. A fun discipline. Okay. Let's see. I got a few. I feel like some of the ones I've already told those stories, but I love stories. I do love stories. A good story. I feel like predicaments are really, really entertaining. predicament play where basically no matter what happens, the bottom is likely to struggle or fail, which of course has to be negotiated as well. Do you want your bottom to have a chance of winning, or is it like the kind of predicament where you're like, no, you're kind of fucked if you do, fucked if you don't kind of scenario, which can also doesn't have to be super complicated. Having them balance something on their hand or hold something in their hand and then put them in a difficult situation that is uncomfortable or painful for them. So they're miserable either way. And if they drop whatever they're holding or balancing, then they get punished. That can be a lot of fun. And I've seen something as simple as having a little ball on your hand and just having to balance that and not drop it. Don't drop it, and then you could do horrible things to them. You can tickle them, or you can spank them, or do that kind of thing. And it's like discipline on discipline. Again, with needing some kind of discipline in order to try to accomplish what the top is wanting to accomplish, and then additional punishments for failure. So I've seen a lot of fun ones like that. I do enjoy predicaments in the you're going to fail either way, and then you're going to get punished for that failure. Again, needs to be discussed because failure can be very, very difficult for bottoms, or just any person. Really, failure can be difficult for tops or for bottoms or for anyone. So that needs to be discussed of like, how are you with failure? Because there are also a lot of people that see, and this is again really important to discuss. Some people like to play for their own sense of pride. They might want to overcome something, or they feel like taking the pain gives them that sense of I made it through. I did this thing. I took all this pain. I took all of this humiliation, and it gives them that sense of accomplishment. So if you're setting a bottom up for failure and they don't take that well, that's ideally avoidable by talking ahead of time. And then, of course, if it does happen, it needs to be addressed. So yes, I am thinking, sorry, I was also Googling the Kinkfest situation because I don't see a schedule yet. I feel like I hope I would know early on what my workshops are going to be, but they are not. They're not. I've got a fun predicament that and I have to give credit to Xanthine for the idea, the harmonica gag. Xanthine gave me the idea of using a harmonica as a gag, like a ball gag. So I made a harmonica ball gag, and then you can either order the bottom to not breathe through their nose, or you can take like earplugs, which my partner works graveyards. We have so many earplugs. So yeah, earplugs up the nose, and so that all of their air and their breathing is coming through their mouth with a harmonica. It is honestly, it's one of those moments of my life where I don't know if I laughed harder in my life. Like that is one of the moments of my life where I laughed the hardest I've ever laughed. And it was a kind of predicament play. It was goal based. My partner wanted a goal that would be really difficult to accomplish, and we agreed on silly. And so I said, okay, you have to have the harmonica gag in until you have an orgasm. And I did all kinds of things to inflict pleasure, to make this person climax. But of course, every time they got close to climax, the breathing would get really heavy and the noise and the music from the harmonica would get really loud. And then it would distract them and they'd kind of be like really having a difficult time. And then, they would kind of lose that orgasm and then have to try to build it up again. And it was Oh, I don't know if I've ever laughed this hard in my life. It I just need people to do this in their lives because it was so much fun. And eventually they did have an orgasm, and it was like an awful orgasm because they were like making all of this breathing, and it was so fucking funny. It took a long time to get them to that orgasm, and they finally got there, and they were like, that was the worst orgasm I ever had. And it was a really good time, and it was really nice to alleviate some stress on both our parts. That was kind of our goal, and it really did work. So it's more of a uh, humiliating kind of scenario. Still, we've got a comment here from Peter. One of my worst BDM experiences was an accident. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My dom wouldn't let me succeed at a task, and I had a panic attack. Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's difficult to share. Thank you for sharing that because it's an important thing to know whether or not a bottom is going to be okay with failing at something. And that sounds like that's what happened. Wouldn't let you succeed and you had a panic attack. Absolutely. I am so sorry that happened. I hope that you were both able to work through it after that. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, that's kind of the stuff you have to consider sometimes. Um, humans often struggle with not succeeding at something, or doing something they might see as a failure, or doing something that might seem disappointing to their top. So that's actually ties in really well with discipline and punishment. Because if we're going for like punishment, the bottom really needs to know that they are forgiven. I don't want to generalize by saying bottoms tend to internalize stuff. People, again, tend to internalize difficult stuff. So something like not succeeding at a task, or the reason if there's a reason they're being punished, that's not a fun reason, like, oh, I stole your panties. But if it's like a punishment that is not fun for them, that can be something that can be really difficult, because feeling like you failed your top can be internalized very heavily. So as a top, I really stress to other tops to make sure that they understand that they have been forgiven. And I usually like to say, I need you to let this go. If that's what helps, if it's like, for me, I am letting this go. I really need you to let this go because you are forgiven. But if you are struggling to forgive yourself, or if you find yourself still struggling with this, I want you to come to me. Okay, so as a top, you need to, because they might not forgive themselves. Maybe they internalized it, and that can become a problem later on. So make sure they know that they can come to you and say, mistress, sir, whoever, I'm really struggling to forgive myself. And then you can work through that. As a top as well, if you have punished a bottom for something, they are forgiven. Do not bring it up again. Let it go. Because that could be really hard for a bottom if you bring it up again. So, important stuff to note. Okay. How are we doing? Oh, we got like 10 minutes left. Again, Peter, thank you for sharing. It's good to know. That's a lot of what I would basically try to advise others, is a lot to do with talking and negotiating and checking in. If and I say this anytime I play, if there's something I do that you decide at whatever time was not okay, I really want to know whether I just want to let you know that you can reach out to me, or if you're not able to, maybe you can get a third party to reach out to me. But I really like, that's a huge fear of mine. So like, if there's something I do that's not okay, please find a way to inform me so that we can try to work through this. We've got a comment. Corporal punishment is a hard limit for me. It never worked on me as a child, so I doubt it would work on me as an adult. That's fair. It's great that you know that that is your limit and that you have that as your limit. It is very, very important to know your limits, and we don't always know our limits, and sometimes we don't find out until later. Oh shit, I think this might be a limit for me, which sucks. So if you're new to playing or if it's a new activity, I try to like ease it in a little bit more and check in as you go. Oh, and Peter said, yes, good news. My Dom and I were able to talk about it and resolve it. That's great. That's really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad that it was worked out. Because, yeah, things happen. We're human. That's another thing. Like, you got to be a little bit gentle with ourselves. Things happen. It's not a matter of if things go wrong, it's when things go wrong. So make sure that you try to share if something goes wrong earlier, if not not later, earlier if possible. The earlier you can kind of deal with it at an appropriate time when everyone is okay. And again, if you need a third party, if you don't feel like you can connect with that person, then I suggest getting a third party that you trust to help. Because I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to harm anyone. So let me know if something happens. And then, of course, you try to avoid that by doing all of the talking ahead of time. What is okay? What's not okay? And I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer for all of you out there. If you're like, oh, do you have any triggers? And you're like, I don't know. That is a completely valid answer. It's not like we get into this having done all of these things. So you have to be new at some point. You have to be new at something at some point. So making sure that, when someone says, I don't know if I like that. I'm like, thank you. That is good information. Is that something you want to explore? Because if you do, you got to be aware of the fact that it is new and treat it like it's new so that you can ease into things a little bit better. So, yes. We have just a few minutes left, and I got to put this up. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Let's see. I got to put this up right now. I'm new to this, okay? Still trying to figure out the music situation, but the background music for this platform is really, really bad. I feel like I need to just put some on so you can see, but I do need to tell you about the other sponsor for this episode, and that's adamandeve.com. And promo code is SWR. Adamandeve.com is a website full of a ton of sex toys and accessories and things like that. I like it because there's a really wide range. There's like really, really nice or really, really expensive stuff. And then there's kind of more of the staples or things that are maybe not as expensive. So it's accessible in that way. And if you use my promo code SWR, you get 50 as in 50% off almost any one item plus free shipping in US and Canada, by the way. And free shipping US and Canada. Done. Hurrah. Let's see how that looks. Hey, I did it. I did a thing. So yeah, adamandeve.com. Promo code SWR, 50%, half off almost any one item. So you're like, I want to get myself a nice vibrator. You can off almost any one item. There's a few items that don't exactly take all the 50% off. But honestly, what I do is I'm like, oh, this one doesn't take 50% off. I wonder if there's something like it. And then I can decide from there and go, oh, hey, this one is like almost the same thing. And it's actually 50% off. Woo woo. So thank you so much for joining Sex with Robin on Split Radio. And I'll be airing this episode again, so it's not going to be live tonight. Oh, hang on, we got a comment here. I ask for a check-in a few days later to process the scene as the bottom in negotiations. Absolutely. Check-ins a good couple days after. Really, really, really smart. And make sure, yeah, quick note. I travel, or pre-COVID, I traveled a lot. So I wouldn't always be able to be in that same geographical location a few days later. So I would make sure that my partner or whoever I was playing with would be aware of that. I'd be like, just so you know, I am going to be, flying home on that day, or I'm going to be home. I'm not going to be here, but like I'll text you and you text me. I can call you. I'm not going to be physically here. If you have somebody that you can be physically with, anyways. And oh no, I missed it. Missed what? What did you miss? What did you miss? Did you miss the adamandeve.com? Okay, so yes, just finishing up here. Mandy's show, The Many Loves Lunch Hour, will be airing again tonight, but it's a recording of the live that was just before this show. So that'll be at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. EST, and then this episode from today will air again tonight at 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST. I got that right? I got that right. Okay. And so next week on Sex with Robin will be at 10 a.m. So many times, 10 a.m. PST, 1 p.m. EST. And we're going to talk about the DS in the middle of BDSM, so dominance and submission, which should be a lot of fun. And then this week we have Thirsty Thursday. This week, again, doing Amaretto Sours. I'm going to drag Brandon because he makes really good ones, and he'll show us how to do that this Thursday. All of my social medias are at Sex with Robin if you want to stay posted. Oh, you just got on. Well, it's going to be airing again tonight at 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST. So you'll be able to catch that. And then, of course, there's always next week. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. And have a good Monday. I love you all. Cheers. Mwah. Take care of each other. Okay. Bye.